Okay, good morning. I'm Dean Groves. Let's call the meeting to order. First with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay, we'll have the roll call, please, starting.
This is Jennifer Nisanoff.
Can you make sure your buttons are popped up?
Jennifer Nisanoff.
Dean Groves,
Daniel Clement.
Can you pull your microphone down too? Make sure the button's up, please. Thanks.
Ed Hedges.
And Laura Leroy.
P-PAC.
right, representing PPAC. Thank you. And we have a quorum. There's four members are present.
Make sure you sign in.
And we have members of the public here.
Correct.
If you please identify
Oh,
yourself.
we don't. No,
You
unless
do
they
that?
come up to talk.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They're supposed to sign in. So if you haven't signed in, please sign in.
Okay. So do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. From Brad Straw from Diamante Way, regarding the gutter repair. I remind you get 3 minutes.
In looking over the contract or the proposal, I don't know if it's been signed yet for the company to redo the street on Diamante. I believe the original Tetra Tech report talked about the condition of the gutter all the way around the street. And there's nothing in the proposed contract concerning repairing of the gutter. And I'd like to find out if that's being done separately or if it's something that's going to have to be addressed after the street itself is done. And in taking some pictures of those areas that need repair, I found some of the walls of the box that the storm drains in the gutter are in are falling in. So there's chunks of concrete inside under the grates. And I just saw those yesterday. But I'd like to find out what's going on with that and why the gutter would not be taken care of at the same time as the street.
I can kind of answer that. I think Daniel can answer it better. I'm second in line for information on that, and Jen may know some too since she meets with Daniel. It's my understanding that when they went out to walk to do for Diamante, there was no areas of the valley gutters that needed repair. So that's why that wasn't included in the bid. I'm not disagreeing with you. That's why I'm asking for your email address. I can have Daniel reach out to you because I didn't go, I wasn't part of it, but that's my understanding, that there weren't any areas that needed to be replaced. However, based on what you said, I will let Daniel know, but if you could, again, put your email address on there for me, please. I'll have him reach out to you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That was my understanding also, that there was no repairs were identified as being needed based on visual observation. I see in the report, there's reference to transverse cracks and crack sealing being advised, which to me doesn't make sense, but we'll have to take a look at that, and we would want to get it done at the same time. Oh, I don't doubt what you're saying. Yeah, I don't doubt what you're saying. I'm just saying we would want to get it done at the same time.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing here. That's what I'm saying. If you
Yeah.
could put your email
Yeah.
address, I'll have
Yeah.
Daniel reach out to you.
Daniel will reach out to me.
Yeah, but if you could put your email on there and then give that back to me, please. Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. To my knowledge, the contract had not yet been signed. So there's nothing moving forward at the very moment, but it's in process. Are there any other
That
public
was
comments?
Bonus, right?
That was Bonnet.
That's done. I did the PO for that.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yep.
so we'll have to address the
Yep.
valley gutters. Any other public comment?
No,
Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is approval of minutes from the December 28th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Is there any comment? Any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That motion passes.
my financial report, I did it, but it didn't end up on the agenda, so, it's, I'll make it a little smaller so it fits. You know, because we don't have, this is your first year with the budget, so there isn't anything in your reserves yet. That will show up next year after we do fiscal 24, but here's where you guys stand as of the end of December. And I know there was some conversations regarding the road repairs. There is a capital line for the major road repairs that you guys are gonna be doing in there. That will not show up on these financials. These are just your operating expenses that show up on here. So any of the larger capital projects are under a separate, are under a separate area of the budget. If you would like, I can add that to these financials so that you can see where you're at with your capital projects. I'm more than happy to do that. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to turn the TV on. It's on our screens, can't you see? I like keeping you in the dark, Marty. Should come up in a minute.
I'm a little confused, Laura, what we had for the October, November timeframe had a total budget of 708,500,
Yes,
and this now has a total.
there was $60,000 that was transferred over into your budget. I'll trace back where that went. There was an adjustment made to your budget for $60,000, so that's why it's larger. I'll take a
you-
note to let you know exactly. I don't,
You'll let
off
us
the
know
top of
where
my
it
head, I
came
don't
from?
remember where it came from, yeah.
Where it came from,
Yep.
okay. It went into the road and sidewalk maintenance number though.
I believe it came from reserves. No, that wouldn't have gone there. I'll trace it down. I don't remember. I noticed that as well when I went in because I had to change the number and then I didn't note it. That is my fault. I will get that for you.
And
Laura, could you print that off so that we have a copy of it?
I'll email it to you.
And can you explain what the streetlights line item is? It's the $82,000 budget. What is included in this?
That budget I got from you guys, so I'll have to go back and look at my notes for the budget for this fiscal year. So all these numbers were supplied by Pelican, either the subcommittees or PPAC, so I'll have to go back and check my notes for the budget. It should be repairs. Yeah, it should be, yep. Normally that was what would go there because the utilities would be under a separate line.
So the power would be somewhere else.
Separate, yep.
So this would likely be maintenance and repair.
Yeah, your power actually shows up under an operations and administrative budget on a different line, not part of what you have. So this is actually like physically repairing lights.
Thank you. The reason why I'm asking is so we're gonna have a lot, more discussion shortly about streetlights.
The FPL stuff,
And,
yeah.
and trying to understand how much is being incurred normally, both maintenance, repair, as well as power. Is
Correct.
kind of where.
The maintenance and repair is, I know Jen gave us some stuff that's gonna be really hard for me to get to you, because we didn't track that.
No, I
That was all
understand.
done by Castle. Electricity, I can absolutely tell you
yeah,
how much
I-
we spent. That's not a
yeah.
problem. But as far as the repairs,
Yeah, I understand. I don't care about so much of what Castle did, although we probably should. I'm saying we ought to, at a minimum, be able to go back 1 year under KW
Yep.
and see, if a check got written to XYZ and that XYZ does lighting repair, we ought to be able to say in the past year, we spent so many dollars.
right. And then we'll have to keep in mind though, that a lot of those repairs were actually due to the hurricane, so your numbers are gonna be inflated.
And that's
So-
okay. I want to see what they were.
Yeah, no,
in the
that's
worst
fine.
case.
I'm just saying, it's,
Yep,
yeah,
in the
it's
worst
the
case.
high, it's higher than normal, I
Yep.
would hope, anyway.
I would hope. But if they're not,
Yep, nope,
Then-
I agree.
then it might affect how our discussion goes regarding the FPL proposal.
Yep, and
So-
Jen did send me some information, so I do have that.
Okay,
And going forward, we'll be able to track it as you can see, because it's in your budget now. So-
maintenance and repair.
Correct.
Thank you. That's what I need to know. I'd suggest that we take item 7D out of order so that we can have have the discussion that we were going to have a couple of weeks ago when we were going to talk about the scope of work, scope of services for the new contract that is anticipated sometime later this fall, maybe October-ish.
The contract that you currently have expires on September 30th, so we need to put this out to bid, I would say probably no later than May.
Okay. For a new contract effective October 1.
Correct.
Yeah. That's, so I'd like to take that out of order. Does anyone have any concerns with that?
Sessions, do you want me to give you an update on where we're at with that credit? Okay, so if, for those of you who aren't aware, I'll give the backstory. The charges had been getting increasingly higher and higher on your invoices. So I went back and did an audit for all of fiscal 23. So back to October 1st of 2022 through the end of October, because we met with Weiser at the beginning of November, I think it was. And in their contract, they have a grid for weekly hours and an hourly rate by each of the services. There's a regular guard, I don't know what an S, there's like a G1 and S1 and then a supervisor. They had been regularly exceeding the number of hours that they should have been billing us for those according to the contract by quite a bit. For example, the supervisor was supposed to be capped at 40 and there were some weeks that there were 62 or 70 hours that we were being billed for time. So I went back, plugged it all in the spreadsheet, calculated out what we should have been billed versus what we actually were billed. And for that 12-month period, it came out to about a little over $19,000 that they had overcharged us. So we met with Tim Gritton, who's the local manager, gave him all the information. He told us he was going to take it back and have the credit issued. We still have not seen it. I had withheld all payment up to this point. I got a call from the vice president of Weiser saying, hey, look, you guys owe us about $100,000. Now you need to start coughing up some cash. And I'm like, oh, I got your attention. So went through some of the invoices they had said we didn't pay, but we did back in August. So I gave them proof of the stuff that we had paid. The plan going forward is that I'm gonna, with each of their invoices is roughly $7,000-ish, somewhere in there. So what I'm doing is I'm holding 3 invoices, which is about a little over $21,000 until we get that credit. So each time they send us a new bill, I release an old one, and then they send us a new bill and I release an old one. So the most that we're ever outstanding to them on their books without the credit is maybe $23,000, and they owe us over 19 in credit. So that's kind of where we're at. So every time when it comes in, I have to look at the invoice, make sure that it's calculated correctly. And then there is a provision in there from December until May. They have an additional 40 hours of support during the day for the gatehouse. And I am allowing for that. You know, I'm including that in my calculations now. But I just wanted to let you know that that's where we're at. And when I sent all the stuff over to the vice president, he wanted to know if we had asked for the guards to work the extra time. And I said, absolutely not. I said, there was no request, nor was there approval for these extra hours. So they just did it. And so that's where we stand. So they haven't given us the credit, and I haven't given them all their money. So.
Well, thank you for doing that audit and getting their attention. I'm just a little confused though, Laura, you said is it monthly 7,000 or weekly?
Weekly.
Weekly, okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I thought.
I might have said monthly. It's weekly.
Yeah,
Each week it's
and I wasn't
around
coming up with-
7,000-ish.
I wasn't coming up with $420,000.
Yeah, it's about that much each week. It's a little over 7,000.
Thank you.
A little less in the summer, a little more in the
Yeah.
winter. So.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Does that address your concern?
I just one other one. Laura, I know we've discussed this a few times about utilizing and being charged for Mark as a supervisor and him operating as a rover. Has that number been changed? I remember Tim had mentioned he's going to take him off that and give him a different pay grade?
He's still being put on as a supervisor, but they have, I think that's what that S1 is supposed to be, is the rover. I haven't seen him with hours there, so I'm paying the max hours, whatever they're supposed to bill us for this S1, which is the rover. The G1 is the person with their butt in the chair at the gatehouse, which is the lowest rate. So I'm just capping those. And if he doesn't send me timesheets, I have no way to know. So who's getting the hours. But they haven't exceeded the contract hours no, that's not true. The supervisor hours were over on a couple of them that I just got, but I didn't pay it. Trying to remember. I think Sharon has been doing the majority of the rover stuff during the day, so she's getting paid at the higher rate. She's not, I don't know. She's got like bouncing back and forth between gatehouse and that. She bounces.
Actually,
So-
it's not happening that way, and that's my
Okay.
concern, that still Mark is providing rover services
And supervisor.
and supervisor services, so we're being double billed. And Sharon is in the gatehouse
Huh.
as the second guard, access
See,
control.
I was poking around there. I haven't seen her, so.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and her truck is right outside the back. She
Sure.
parks pickup truck there. But, so that's been happening for a while, and I think that's what I really need to break those numbers down. That we should only be charged for the gatehouse guard on only weekends with a rover.
Yep.
Well, not I shouldn't say.
Well,
only
no,
weekends.
they're 7 days a week. Yeah.
7 days a week, but less 40 hours, which is what Mark is providing.
If he's doing both,
Yeah,
right.
he's operating both services.
But we have a rover 24/7.
Yes,
correct?
but
But we don't get charged for 24 hours for a rover.
We should not be charged 40 hours with Mark
Right.
performing that. So that's the concern I'm seeing, the anomaly in that he's performing those services. And we're paying him the S1 rate, as well as we're being charged for a rover for 40 hours when he's performing that task. I think that we need to look, we gotta look a little bit further into that.
Okay,
And there are some days that he doesn't, because he's not here for one reason or another. But
sure.
I-
I'll check the
I can
time
go
cards
through the sheets
closer.
also. Yeah.
I'll check that closer.
If you need any, I can pull those sheets on a daily basis, so we get them, because I went to pick up sheets the other day and they were not available for the police enforcement.
Okay. And we're having some issues. They have there's a incident reporting system that they use. And they're not using it to report incidents. Cause for instance, when the most recent hitting of the guardhouse, I got nothing. I knew because Jen told me. She called me and said, hey, here's what's going on. Not a single thing came through, but they have no problem using it to say, hey, we need toilet paper, or hey, our faucet is dripping. I said, please do not use this for that. This should truly be for incidents. If you need something, send it to customer care. And then I had to remind them that their toilet paper and paper towels and cleaning supplies are their responsibility according to the contract. Castle had purchased them for them in the past, but we haven't in quite a while. And they were like, we're out of stuff and we're having to pay out of our own pocket. I'm like, per your contract, it's it's Weiser's responsibility to supply these things for you. So I'm sorry, but yeah,
So clearly they have an issue in understanding what the terms of the contract are
correct.
and what the services are and what the cost ramifications are, which is all important because the topic right now is what do we want to do for the next contract, the scope of the services, I think, initially. And I know that there's been some concerns. I wasn't able to hear the discussion when the suggestion was made to have a workshop meeting because of the internet
Mhm.
problems before. So it's somewhat.
Yeah, I think it was kind of two-phased. One, do we want to keep at least the scope that we have now, or do we want to make modifications? And then we'd had some discussions in other meetings about different things that we might want to add on. And I think that came in two flavors as well. Did it match up with GSCDD assets? And the second part was, would we want to add something on for the PPCA and for the town center? And do we do that in the same contract? I think at one time we said, no, we wanted it in separate contracts, but we just need to really make a decision on how we want to handle that.
All right. I know I have my own opinions, but I guess I'd like to hear what others have to say.
Maybe we can just start with first the contract as it stands now. Do we want to change that scope any and then move on to how we might want to
Okay.
expand?
But before we do it, I will tell you, it was my understanding from, I guess it was probably anecdotal evidence, hearsay, that the new contract, i.e. Wiser, was going to have the same scope as the old contract, Securitas, which is why, Laura, I had been asking for a copy of the Securitas contract,
Which we don't have.
which
Yeah.
obviously, if some strange reason,
If it shows up, I will be sure to
No,
let you know.
I'm sure it's not going to show.
I'm sure
pretty
it's
sure.
not.
But that's why I was asking, because it was my understanding that the scope was the same. And if the scope was the same, then they gave us a price to provide the same services. And those services, in my understanding, included um, um, activities related to town center, RV lot, and maybe something else. I don't quite remember exactly, but it was more than limited to CDD assets. So that's where I'm coming from.
Sure.
It's the same. But, again, even though the words may not spell it out that way, that's what my understanding was. So that's where I'm coming from. I'd like to ensure that we have the opportunity to get from the security contractor the scope that we expected that they would be providing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right now, I'm opposed to making any change to the existing contract because it'll be, in my opinion, it'll be drawn out to a point where we're already into the new contract. We seem to have a problem finalizing the document based on everyone's got something to say, then it just keeps changing the scope that we set out for the vendor. The vendor has a responsibility to adhere to the contract that he or she has received. And if they're not, my personal opinion, they need to be penalized, however we decide. But unfortunately, in this contract, it's not indicated as such. Going forward, I would definitely propose to have a penalty fees for violations of the contract. And I agree, we need to, I was only able to get the post orders from Securitas, but not the actual contract, which we've been discussing. And it's been very difficult to try and put the two together, other than the fact that I have evidence and it's clear that Wiser copied the other document almost verbatim. And I believe
For post orders.
for post orders.
Mhm.
But the post orders also reflect back to the contract because that's how they assigned their duties.
Mhm.
So I don't have the original post orders for Wiser, the first document that came out. I don't have access to, I haven't seen that. So it's kind of tough to say what was actually taken out during the modifications. And that's something I can definitely look into, but I would need that first version of the document.
There were a couple different versions of the document because a couple of us got together and made updates. We submitted them and then those updates just never appeared. So
But all of that notwithstanding, the purpose of the discussion now is not to change the existing contract, but to revise as appropriate the scope for the future contract.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't think we need to be concerned about changing the existing contract. They've got a contract, they're obligated to do what they say they're gonna do under the terms, the conditions, the pricing, all of that. But going forward, a new request for proposals or bids will be issued sometime in May, you think?
I think we need to do it by May to give us time, because especially with you only meeting monthly, because
Yeah.
it would have to be reviewed and then
Yeah.
have a recommendation made, and then it has to go to PPET, and it has to go
Yeah.
to the board, and
So in the next couple of months, there would be a new request for proposals. We would expect that Wiser, because they enjoy the existing contract that they have, maybe Securitas, maybe some other firm will be bidding on that scope. And we'll have a common scope that we can compare pricing against in advance of a decision that, and a new contract to take effect October 1st. So again, not changing existing contract. It's defining the scope for the new contract. Okay? That's how I.
That's correct. Yep, we're looking for input on the scope going forward.
Yeah, Ted, wait a second, Bob. Ted, any comment from you at this point?
No.
No, okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, guys. Bob Gepper from Brenham. I believe what you just said, Dean, is very succinct and very appropriate. The question for you to decide is, do you want to continue all of the functions, notwithstanding charging PPCA for town center or anything else? There is an argument to be made that the security service can continue doing everything they've always done. And I may be digressing a little bit from the staff's opinion on this. But if we maintain Rover, if we maintain RV surveillance, and if we maintain the town center in the new contract going forward, if this group recommends that we do that, then it would go to PPAC. And if they confirm also that they want to do that, then it would come to the board. I fully expect at the board that staff is going to say, hey, we only want to do the assets, and that's appropriate. We don't think that ought to be these other functions. And then it'll be up for the GSCDD board to either agree with that position and limit the contract, or to accept the broader position that our security firm has done these functions for 20 some years, and we want them to continue at no cost to the community association, just like we've always done it.
Mhm.
That would be no exchange. And I've gotten a preliminary legal opinion that that's appropriate for us to go forward. That'll be discussed by the board and everybody will have their input.
Thank you.
But Tony has told me that as long as it is to the overwhelming benefit of the residents, then it would be appropriate. So that I'll leave it at that. And I've been trying, Danny, to get the combinations. I cannot get the original Securitas contract. I do have the Wiser contract. I do have a copy of the Securitas post orders. I have a copy of the Wiser post orders.
That's the same we have.
So I've got, we're getting there. And I have been in contact with Securitas nationally to try and get that contract, unsuccessfully up to now. They keep saying they got it. They keep saying they're going to send it,
Okay.
but we haven't got it anywhere. And the follow-up now is I'm sitting in the audience, and it's my understanding that this group has said that Danny is the interface for the group with Wiser.
Wait, that's the way that we had been functioning, correct?
Okay.
Right?
And to that end, I would, offer an opinion to you guys that we ought to make very, very clear to Wiser that when an event occurs, the first call is the district. The second call is Danny or whoever you adjudicate. The third call, of course, is going to be Wiser. I mean, it's going to be Jen because she's right there. But make that very clear, because it looks like nobody knows how it's going to happen.
Yep.
Sometimes they do this, sometimes they do that. And this is a performance standard. If they don't match it, to your point about penalties, we need to hold them accountable. So,
I will
Thank you.
say this, the last event that we had, I was called. I was contacted. I was a little late again because I was in the middle of a ball game, but they do make the contact to me. But unfortunately, and I'll just regress to this a second, that last incident, the comment that was made to me was, am I to expect the access control officer to be watching incoming traffic? That's a direct quote from the individual. I said, yes. So, and I won't elaborate on the other part that I was involved with, but yes, I expect them to do their job, to watch the incoming traffic. Not to sit there and wait till a vehicle approaches the gate and not even look out, and the other individual is just sitting there that we're paying for. So my request was to have them removed, and I don't know what the result was at this point. But the supervisor feels that they should not have to perform that task. That's basic security 101. And access control is very clear. Access, control the access in the community.
And Danny, the latest iteration of the post orders clearly say that they need to be vigilant in watching, monitoring the approaching traffic. And they're clearly not doing the job. Right? Clearly not doing the job. We've had two strikes, two hits of the gatehouse within a month.
Yeah, 3 in the last 6 months.
Yeah, so they clearly are not paying attention. So that comes back to the question, do we want to ensure that the scope of the services includes services for town center, RV lot, and Bob said something else, but and the rover, yeah.
There's a comment online from Peggy Hall is online. And she said that she questions the value of the rover during the majority of the week. In her personal opinion, the rover provides little to no value compared to the cost. I read it verbatim.
Okay, thank you.
And this is Danny again, and we have discussed that. There has been part of our discussion, looking into the actual functions of the rover. Could it be reduced to nighttime hours to look at the assets such as the streetlights, checking the town center, the pool, and those areas on the off hours when there's less activity. So that's something going in the future, the next contract that we need to look at and really talk about and implement and possibly improve. Because it is a positive for us. I don't see a purpose for the rover in the day shift. And to me, it is a waste of money at this point because he or she is not protecting any asset that's not going to be observed by anyone else in the community. Secondly, and I'm going to bring this up, the vehicle itself, the yellow warning lights do not operate. So while we were addressing the last crash to the gate, that vehicle was parked behind the gatehouse, and the contractor was blocking the gate. And then he left, so the gate entrance was open to the public and people were just diverting. I had to give him my yellow light to put on the car and tell him to put his car where it's supposed to be, blocking the gate. I said, why isn't your light? How did you put your light on? It doesn't work. It hasn't worked for a long time. So that goes back to their failure to inspect the vehicle on a daily basis. Okay. So these are things that come up that do not get addressed by them.
So the question is, so again, if we're going to expect that the town center and the RV lots are being monitored from a security point of view, it strikes me that it's not going to be done by anybody who's doing this on foot. They're going to use the roving vehicle.
Yes.
It's going to be the rover that goes to these remote locations. I don't know the process. Do they check in? Are there places where they need to, check off that they made that stop, they made that check that day? Or how does it happen?
There were, it's my understanding that there are certain scan points throughout the community
Scan
where when they get
points,
to them, they like tap that they were there and it shows like who and when.
Okay,
But because those were in the areas that are not district assets and we've asked them to not go there anymore, it's not being done.
but the scan points may still exist.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then would the,
It's not in the contract.
So
It is.
it was in the original
I'll have to
contract.
check.
okay, so that's a problem, but we're talking about the future contract right now.
Right.
So we need to make sure that it's in the future contract. And if the rover is going to various scan points, does that rover also, check to make sure doors are locked at night, gates are closed at night? I mean, what are the functions and how does it get done? Because again, it strikes me that in the last year or so, we've heard stories of people who have been living in the gym or living in the, in the locker room someplace, in the town center. Wasn't a CDD asset, so CDD didn't care about it, but as a resident, I cared about it, and I'm sure others cared about it. And if we had the function being provided by the security contract, by the rover, then we would have I think we would have caught those things at least a little earlier than we did.
Can I ask a slightly, I guess it's a clarifying point, since we're trying to capture all the things we want added, should we start making a list? Okay, you're
I'm-
playing scribe for that?
I'm
Okay.
already got it.
So do we have on there that we do want to have the rover just at night? Or have we made that decision? I don't think we've made.
That decision has not been made. I think that's gonna be for further discussion. Will be-
Okay, so you'll put that in there. soon.
have that,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Never mind then. Well, I didn't know who was capturing
Yeah.
all this stuff and I thought it was pretty important that we're capturing it. Okay,
I know, the rover, I believe they lease that. I think that's what Tim
The
said.
vehicle is leased,
Yeah,
yes.
and they do have GPS in it, so they can track wherever it is at any given time,
Well, that-
including sitting at the gatehouse.
so that's good.
Oh,
Okay.
on the Brocky Center parking lot,
yes,
which is where I see them on weekends.
yeah, they have GPS in there so they can track where it is.
I think Carol-
They also have a phone that the Rover phone has a device in it that they can track when he or she leaves the community or leaves the area without it. So they know if that device is stationary for any particular point in time.
Yeah, Jen? Thank you.
Just wanted, Jen Lewis with KW, just wanted to let you know that I did sit down with Wiser to, I believe it was one of the vice presidents or something, to try to get a supplemental for the town center. So I'm pretty sure Pelican Preserve Board of Directors would be willing to do a supplemental if need be. So if Gateway District refuses to pay for town center, because it's not their asset, right? I think that Pelican Preserve would be willing to do a shared cost, if you will, for the town center to ensure the doors are locked and the pool is, empty at night and that type of thing. So
Can we get a list of that? Because that might be really helpful to have for what Danny.
I don't have I'll have to go back and look and
Okay.
see. I think it was Ron. I'll have to look in my emails.
Yeah, no problem.
But I'm pretty sure I think he gave us a price. But we were in the middle of all of this.
I'm sorry, I was looking more for the list, but the price would be.
Oh, the list. No, we just walked the town center and he basically said he would have them patrol at night. They would be there during concert events, that type of thing. Ensuring all the doors would be locked, checking to make sure there was nobody in the pool after hours, that type of thing.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a list because,
I don't think we have a
Okay.
list.
okay,
I just had a meeting with Ron. I believe it was
that's
with Ron
fine.
Allen. And he's like vice president of sales or something. So he came and we talked about it and they're willing to give us a price separate. So if it's something that has to be separated, we're willing to negotiate that.
Thank you, Jen. Again, my presumption is that existing staffing levels, one second. My presumption is existing staffing levels wouldn't change with this added scope. And if the staffing levels don't change, then the dollars don't change. And, maybe there's an allocation, some sort of calculation that said, okay, community association can provide a portion of this, but I'd rather if it's no increase in cost, I'd just assume keep it as a simple contract and they provide the services we want.
I agree. If it's written into the contract and they agree to do the contract under those terms, there should be no increase in
Yeah,
pricing
Right,
based on just adding the town center duties.
yes. Yes,
Hi, Carol Pancaw, resident of Pelican Preserve and then also on the GSCDD board. A conversation that I had with our attorney, Tony, probably a couple months ago now, because I knew this contract was coming up and I got an understanding that maybe Chelsea had one opinion of the rover and Tony might have another opinion of the rover. And so I sat down and had a conversation with him about it. And in our conversation, what he basically told me was he has no problem with a rover, but the duties of the rover should be made very specific. So that is to view and report. So observe and report. Anything that creates anything additional that would create a liability for the district is something that we should not include in there. So in other words, if he were going past the front door of Brocky, for instance, and he saw that the door was open or that there was a light on or that something or other, he could observe and report that to somebody. But he has no powers to do anything other than that. If you said you go up and shake the door and see if it's locked, that creates a liability then, because he has taken an action where that could create a liability for the district. So anything, he said, anything that would create a liability for the district, we have to stay away from. Anything that is observing and reporting is absolutely in the realm of power and responsibility for that rover. I just wanted to share that with you because I think it may help you going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, I know there's always different interpretations of words and what's included and what causes creates a liability. And I think it's all important to understand. I'm not sure I would agree that it's all a liability, but I understand that the attorney may have his opinion. So thank you, Carol. But again, back to the scope of the existing document, we should, I think, agree, we've all agreed that we'd like to include language that reinforces that the rover is doing what we want town center wise, RV lot wise. And I might even be convinced that open garage door at 10 o'clock at night warrants a ring on the doorbell or a text message to the owner. That may create a liability as well, but I think it's all in along the lines of providing a relatively secure community. I know I get reminded at home a lot, did you close the garage door? So most of the time I do, but I've been caught also. So I think it's the kind of thing that is, if this is a service that we want the security company to be providing, and it does not include, does not increase the cost of the services because it doesn't affect the staffing levels, then I would think it's something that we could live with and we could figure out a way to make it happen. I always kind of go back to my elementary school training with success comes in figuring out what you can do rather than what you cannot do. And it's easy to figure out why you cannot do something, but figuring out how to do something is I think where we need to go. Any further comment? No? Okay.
I don't get that, put words in my mouth. I mean, I have my personal opinion and then I have my opinion where I understand where you guys are coming from as well.
Yeah.
And, like Bob said, we had discussions with Tony, and as long as there's no additional liability to the district and it benefits the residents of Pelican as a whole, I fully support it. I just have to look out for us as a district. If there's a liability, then I'm going to have an issue. But if it's a benefit that doesn't impede us in any way, I'm on board 100%.
And if there were a way to include the community association as a party to the agreement somehow.
Sure, what we did with Ameriscape. Yep.
That has an insurance requirement,
Yep.
right? And the shared liability.
And that would be a Tony question.
Right,
So,
right.
yep.
So there could be ways to get there.
Like we did with Ameriscape is when we put our bid out, we actually put out 2 separate bids
Yeah.
and we just asked them, we said, okay, this is our part
Yeah.
and we really would like you to do all of it. And this is the other part. And we'd like you to honor the same pricing that you gave us for the community center. And we actually, they have their own contract. We have our own contract, but it's one vendor providing all the services. And then they just divvy up how they bill. So.
Right, but that, under those terms, those are separate contracts. I'm not
Correct.
suggesting a separate contract. I'm suggesting a single contract with 2 parties to the contract.
And that would be a Tony question, because that's it.
I
It might
understand.
get muddy for liability and
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
as long as there's no added risk to the district,
Right.
I'm on board.
Right, thank you. Okay, we're having a discussion. You want?
There's no scope yet. There's nothing.
Good.
Calm down, Bob.
So, Dan, you said you were putting something together. Will you be mailing that out?
If you wanna put something together and send it to Georgia ahead of time, she can send it to you guys, so you have a little more than a week to digest it before your next meeting, and that'll give you some time to make some comments. And if you have comments on the agreement, if you want to get them back to Georgia, she can compile them, and then we can use that version for your next meeting.
Okay.
then.
Okay.
That
will
would be
do.
wonderful.
Or we can put a document out there that you guys can all tap into and make your changes at the same time,
Okay.
which would be even more amazing.
Yeah,
That
So
would be wonderful.
we're working, that's part of the reason for those district email addresses that you have. We're working on getting a central location to be able to share and edit documents
That's fantastic.
What's the effective date on this?
now. After this meeting, all four, now that you've been given your as each committee receives their district email addresses, all communications from this point forward will go to that district email address.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So we will get to the point where we will be making a recommendation. We're not quite there. I do believe that the comments that Bob Geppert made a little while ago are making sure that the hierarchy of notification is clear is important there as well. So, you know, it's first to district, second to the safety and security point person, that being you, Danny, and third being KW, probably Jen. There's, you know, there's a lot of other things that they're not doing currently that we need to make sure they do, whomever does in the future, incident reports, et cetera. But if we get this into the overall contract, that's important.
And in my experience, it needs to be in the contract in wording and agreed upon by all parties.
Yep.
Once it's been agreed upon, there's no wiggle room unless there's a change, an authorized change. So we need to be very specific in putting it in there, defining what the responsibilities or requirements that we have in addition to what the district has. And they have to be, go by it.
Okay.
No exceptions.
Good, thank you. Daniel, welcome.
Apologies.
That's okay.
From one committee to the next.
You can't be in two places at once. Yeah. So we're back on the agenda, item number 7A, Azura Drive streetlight ownership responsibility. Chelsea submitted this information. Apparently there is a streetlight. I guess it's all of the streetlights in Azura that have been being paid for by the HOA, whereas virtually everywhere else, streetlights are being paid for by the district. And this is a request to transfer the responsibility of paying for the service, the streetlight service, from the Azura HOA to the CDD. The impact is about $125 per month, which sounds, that's like a pretty good electric bill. I wouldn't mind that electric bill either. But $125 per month impact. Any discussion on the subject? Ed, you might have some background here that you're a resident also in Azura, right? So you have firsthand.
Talk about conflict. No, when I was doing the streetlight inventory, you know, and you guys actually discussed this back, I think in November. There were the 3 anomaly areas. This is one of them. I think there's 2 issues that our HOA president brought up in his email. One is transferring the responsibility going forward, but then also a request to look at capturing back billing, which is, I don't know if they've submitted and gone back and got that yet, but that might be a second step to it. But the first is to make sure that they want to make sure they aren't paying for it going forward. And then a second issue is, can they get reimbursed for some amount of expenditures going backwards?
So this is Daniel. I know that Chelsea was working to see how far back legally we could pay back to this particular item. I don't know if she'd received back from Tony the statutes of limitations there for how far back. I think it was 4 years, but don't quote me on that. And she's still working out the billing on it as well.
But the first question is there a recommendation from subcommittee for the responsibility to be transferred over to CDD from the HOA?
Yeah, this was not an intentional act to charge the one community, but yes, going forward, I believe it should be the ownership should be transferred over to the CDD, the district, to pay these bills going forward. That's
Just-
Danny
just-
Clemens.
Just a clarification.
Was that?
No, there's a bug here and it was bothering me, so.
I just want to clarify, these streetlights are Florida Power and Light assets, just like they are in all the other neighborhoods. So it's just taking over responsibility for the billing,
And the account.
for
Yeah.
the account for them.
Okay. So can we
that-
break this up into two parts? One, a recommendation that we move it over to CDD going forward, and then once we find out more about the back billing, we can come back and do that part of it.
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a motion, is there a motion to recommend CDD be responsible on a going forward basis for paying for the street lighting service, electrical service on Azura?
Danny Clemens makes that motion to transfer billing services from Azura to the Azura FPL lighting to the CDD.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. That's good. As far as the second part of the question, we'll have to wait on that, the reimbursement for back billing. But I think going forward, this would be a positive step for equity in the community. Item 7B, Palazzo Streetlight Ownership Maintenance Responsibility Discussion. Sounds similar. I don't know that it is similar, but
Exactly. I think there's a nuance.
there is a nuance. Bob?
Yeah. Bob Gepper from Breno. The difference between Azura and Palazzo is that Palazzo was a condo association. They used to own their road. And obviously they'd have to take care of the lighting and everything else. So they made a petition to the PPAC for PPAC to take over the roads. And PPAC said they would. There was a very narrowly defined agreement from the district point of view. From the Palazzo point of view, they thought it included the roads and lights. It didn't happen. But anyway, in as much as where we're here today, in as much as the district owns the road, it seems logical and appropriate that they should own the lights. But that's now a question for you guys. If you say yes, we'll take the lights. But it is a different thing than Azura. Azura was just a mistake. This was conscious. But if you take the lights, then it goes to PPAC and we'll go from there.
Ed?
I can add, can you, Daniel, can you skip or advance us forward to one of the pictures that shows that one? Again, when I was doing the street lighting inventory, there are 10 streetlights, private streetlights that were owned by the Palazzo HOA. The first two there are actually serving the roundabout and what is District Street. The other 8 were on the private road right of way that has been transferred, to the district in the last year or so. So they are private lights. So you would be transferring the lights assets to the district. They would own them just like the ones on Pelican Boulevard and everything else. The other issue with this one is there's an electric meter and electric account that's being paid for by the HOA. That electric meter serves the lights, the monument, and the irrigation pedestal. So you would be taking over both the lights and the electric service. Because it's already serving, it's serving two, right now it's serving two of the lights that are serving the district streets, but it's also serving the monument. And a lot of the other district electric meters that serve monuments also serve the irrigation controllers and stuff. So
So
it'd be very consistent with what's in the other neighborhoods then.
so I have a couple of questions then. So it is a condo association. It's a COA, not an HOA, correct? The 8 lights that are along Palazzo Way in the area that was conveyed to CDD are private lights, right? The 2 that are at the roundabout, those are on CDD roads.
They are private lights maintained by the condo association
At the roundabout also.
at the roundabout also.
Okay.
Those 2 at the roundabout. You see this actually shows the property. There is condo association around the roundabout. There is a 10-foot utility easement along that roadway that those lights would be installed in. So whether or not you'd have to get a surveyor out there to know whether they were actually within the road right of way,
Sure.
because there's not a sidewalk
Yeah.
there, or on the
I-
property, but
Is a villa, is it a Villa Amiato Way that's over at Sienna? Okay, wait, just wait. Okay, so that is a COA and it's privately owned. And the road was never conveyed to CDD and the lights have never been
No.
dealt with there.
the lights on Sienna are paid for, are Florida Power and Light lights paid for by the district. And they are on a utility easement on golf course property. They aren't even on the Sienna Condo Association property. So it's even more confusing, but
Even
they
more
are Florida Power and Lights being paid for by the district.
Inside Sienna.
They run along the Sienna property, but they are on a utility easement on golf course property.
But the reason why I'm asking is that I see that the conveyance of Palazzo Way to the district is an anomaly. And I could see that as a precedent for Sienna to approach the district, say, hey, well, what about us? And then a conversation about lighting along Amiata Way also, that, and again, it comes back to, in my opinion, that as a condo association, the condominium is responsible for those assets. As an HOA, and that's why I
Well,
think it's important for us to be clear when we're talking about the neighborhood. Is it a condo or an HOA?
well, there are a lot of condo associations, like a villa is a condo association. The district owns the roads through
Okay.
it and the
Okay.
lights. So it's not just the high rises that are condos.
Yeah.
There are other
Okay,
condo associations.
okay, well, again, those are kind of, stir the pot up a little bit more.
I'll
Okay.
tell you, trying to sort all this stuff out,
Yeah.
I've been digging into
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
this stuff, so
Yeah.
it's from
Yeah.
the GIS perspective.
Yeah, okay. All right. Ted, I thought I heard you, I saw you lean forward. I didn't know if you said something. Yeah.
No, I mean, I still go along with what we did with this door. I mean, it just seems fair that we should do it. I mean, I know there may be some issues, but I'd say go ahead and approve it.
And again, from a financial impact point of view, it's about the same impact that exists for Azura, $125, $130 a month. Yeah.
Seems fair to me to do it.
This is Jennifer. I would agree, but I have an additional question. Are there any other neighborhoods that are in the situation that we might want to look into? Because if there are a bunch of them, then it all becomes kind of additive. So I just think we need to understand financially, if we're starting to set a precedent, what could be the implications down the road?
When I did the streetlight inventory, I mean, we looked at every streetlight. These three areas, Azura, Plaza, and Siena, were the only anomalies, other than Town Center, which they have their own lights in Town Center. But all the other lights in all the neighborhoods are Florida Power and Light, provided by, paid for by the district.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is Danny. I have a question. So if they're looking for us to pick up the billing for the lighting of Palazzo Way, what happens to, and at what cost will it be to take out anything that doesn't belong to the district? I.e. the irrigation system. That's a COA property and assets, correct?
Danny, don't talk about it. That's the topic for this year. It's a mess. Nothing anybody says will mean anything yet. I agree with you. It is an item. Let's just table that. That's a.
Well, no, but my point is, and I take it, I agree, I accept your point. My point is this going to open up Pandora's box for other communities to say that the district or the security team should be paying my irrigation also because they're paying Palazzo's? Because it's going to get out.
No.
No, it won't. Okay. Jennifer?
Jen Lewis with KW. So just want to make one, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, these streetlights though in Palazzo are not FPL owned streetlights. These are streetlights that are maintained by you as well. So that's part of your $82,000 in your maintenance and repair. We did repair some of those after Ian, so you did pay for, I think, one of the streetlights that came down in front of their clubhouse. So so they're not FPL yet, but hopefully maybe in the future they will be.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Clearly, there's a lot of nuances here, but is there a motion from the committee to recommend transferring responsibility and ownership of transferring responsibility for the power for the streetlights along Plaza Way to the district? Well, the maintenance we've already got.
No.
Technically, no.
So the,
Made an error.
Maintenance,
so this is Daniel,
okay,
for my clarity as well. So the COA owns the privately owned lights. They own the maintenance and they own them for it. And they're trying to transfer all of that.
all of that.
Correct.
And they are not FPL lights.
Correct.
So just to be clear.
Okay. What he said.
That's what I said. Maintenance too.
What he said. Okay, is there a motion to accept the recommendation to for the district to take over ownership and maintenance of and the power for all of the streetlights along Palazzo Way?
This amount here is just for the power. It's not for the maintenance, correct? So
Correct.
if we don't have maintenance in our budget, what's the impact of adding in maintenance?
If you take over, well, to me, this is to transfer the ownership and maintenance responsibilities for the lights from the condo association to the district.
Right, but the amount here is just for the power. It's not for the maintenance. I'm just asking what does that add to this amount? Because right now it's.
I don't know if anybody can answer that question because historically you don't know what that asset life cycle looks like and where it's at along that path, if that makes sense, right?
Nobody knows. Okay.
To tell you if it was a brand new pole and it's at the beginning of its life cycle, it's gonna be minimal. But if it's,
Nothing, now they're 25 years old.
but now that they're 25 years old, as you've seen, or everybody has probably heard across Pelican about all the lights that I'm consistently chasing down to try to get fixed, is because they're at the midlife to end of life cycle for their
Okay.
poles.
Then can I change the question just a little bit?
You may.
And that is, if we're adding 10 to however many we have now, what percentage of the total budget would that be? And I know that's not analogous, but
We have about 130 district-owned lights in
So
Pelican.
adding 10 to that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Thank you.
somewhere in that 100, it might be 140, something like that.
Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, so is there a motion?
So moved, whatever you said.
So,
I want a big. Yeah.
yeah, for the district to take the ownership and maintenance responsibility and power responsibility for all of the streetlights along Palazzo Way going forward. Going forward.
Okay.
Is there a second? Need more information?
Yes, I'm not. This is Danny. I'm not too agreeable to making that change so we get better numbers, like Daniel said, the lifespan of these poles. What is the anticipated cost that we may run across? I mean, we have the older community. This community is only what, 12 years old? Bob, how old?
20.
Palazzo?
Palazzo's 20?
No,
No.
No. All
Maybe they were only got here in 5.
right, so it's one.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
All right, maybe. Let's cut to the medium, 15 years. What is the anticipated lifespan of these poles? Concerning what we're going through now with the lights, the existing lights. Does anybody know?
typical utility depreciation would be 30
30
years.
years.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're looking at it.
So larger scale infrastructure is 50 years. Your one-offs like these individual items is 30 years.
Okay,
I will say the trend is trending in a negative pattern from what I've been seeing in this area, in this region over the past several months. So I have been relentlessly going after light poles in Pelican for the past 4 months now. And in this area,
In this area of Palazzo? Down this area?
I've had multiple
Really?
repair calls in.
Interesting.
so that's my put. So we need to, I think,
Yeah.
looking at those numbers to see what we're looking to take on. Because again, it is a COA. And they signed documents to take ownership of that. That was their responsibility.
I
No,
think Wiser assigned it to them.
no,
Not Wiser, I'm sorry,
WCI.
WCI?
WCI, sorry. Yeah, I misspoke.
Danny drove, the people that bought the site, they knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they knew what.
Oh,
that's
okay,
why
I was
did.
thinking about,
The residents and
Earlier, who gave
they
them
knew what they were buying.
responsibility.
It was going to include lighting, it's going to include irrigation, it's going to include this. So I'm not in agreement at this point.
Ed, is there any conflicts of, can you expand on the gateway assets that are on that meter already? Because I know we've had a conversation about there being gateway assets that are currently on that meter, and there was a little bit of a conflict between they're paying for essentially some gateway items just by legacy.
Yeah, well, I guess 2 of the lights are lighting the Gateway Street at the roundabout from that other. On the meter, it serves the 10 lights, the monument, and the irrigation controller. And in most,
Now, those assets are they gateway assets or the COA's assets? The irrigation?
the irrigation,
Because this is what's going to convolute this.
The 2 lights,
That-
monument are gateway.
it's
Yeah.
it's a community association controller, but in each of the HOAs are responsible for maintaining their own controllers. But in almost all the neighborhoods, and I'm still trying to sort out all the electrical in the neighborhood, but almost all the irrigation controllers in Pelican are powered by electric meters that either serve irrigation, the ponds, or monument lighting, and that are paid for by the district. So in almost all, 90-some% of the irrigation controllers are powered off of electric meters that are currently being paid by the district. The irrigation power is minimal. If you put your,
Very small.
there's a couple and you're basically getting minimum bills for the power and light on if it's only serving irrigation. The monument lighting is kind of next. The ponds and the street lighting are the big electric drivers. So if it's tied into something serving street lighting or pond aeration, those are the big drivers of the electric bill. Monuments are minor, so yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You pay more for the meter than what you.
So maybe I should,
And I will say too, that those irrigations in those controllers in the neighborhoods are also providing irrigation to the district assets, so.
so perhaps I should rephrase change the motion so that so it excludes ownership and maintenance responsibilities of the lights. That it only includes the power for the lights along Palazzo Way.
I don't agree with that. Let me guess some straight. Palazzo, the residents of Palazzo pay taxes to the district like we do, right? So if something happens to a street light on where I live on Breno Drive, those people are paying for that maintenance.
Yeah.
Why can't you flip it around the other way? I don't see the issue. We're really nitpicking here. Goodness sakes, just do it. I mean, there can't be that big a difference. And even if there is, it's just what's fair is fair. They're fellow residents.
The condos, the Plaza residents are basically paying for these, plus a portion of the lighting in all the other neighborhoods through their assessment. That's
That's my
one of their points.
Why shouldn't they get back what we get?
That'd be a double dip.
Okay. Well, good
Right,
point.
now that's,
Good point. Yeah, okay. So there's been a motion made. Is there a second?
Wait, can you review what the latest?
The motion is for the district to take over responsibility of the power for all of the streetlights along Palazzo Way, as well as the ownership and maintenance responsibility of those streetlights.
I'll make the motion. This is Jennifer.
We have the motion already. Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Thanks. Is there any further discussion? And is there all in favor of the motion?
I changed my vote.
Aye, okay. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And maybe this will all change when we get to the next topic. But, let's go one step at a time. Thank you. I'm sorry. Allows internal transfer. Okay, did that. Okay, this is an item that I had requested last month. In the first month of the year, we got a financial report that showed that we were over budget on the road/sidewalk maintenance line item by $20,273. And I couldn't understand how that happened without any discussion from Laura from the district. So I asked her about it and I suggested that perhaps it was in the charge. It was about a $40,000 charge for the refreshing of the pavement markings on the main roadways in Pelican Preserve. That should have been done in the prior fiscal year, but because of other reasons got delayed until around October of the current fiscal year. So it hit the line item, road sidewalk maintenance, put us over budget by $20,000. And I had suggested that perhaps it ought to go against the line item safety and security other. In the current financial report, which we saw earlier, the $29,000 road sidewalk maintenance number got increased by another $60,000. So, which we're still waiting for explanation on. So I guess at this point, I'm okay with leaving the charge where it was, because it is a maintenance function, the street line maintenance. It's just a question of how do these costs hit the budget without the subcommittee's input? That was a concern. I didn't think that was the way things were going to operate going forward. But when I was speaking with Laura, she said that the entire subcommittee would have to vote in favor of transferring this charge as expense to a different line item because it was a reallocation, which I didn't understand either. So at this point, I just as soon leave it where it is, continue the discussion with Laura on how expenses hit our budgets, and I try to get ahead of this. It just, like I said, it caught me by surprise in the first month to be $20,000 over budget.
This is Danny. So this project was approved for the 2023 fiscal year, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And it was a line item in their budget.
Well, there was a line item for road sidewalk maintenance. It would have gone in that line item
So was
last year.
that money then transferred over to the 2024 to offset the billing? Do we know? Because that money was sitting in 2023.
It
We
may,
took over in
it may
four,
be, yeah.
so we have to see where that money is.
Right.
The pro forma is the wrong.
Yeah.
For your stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't go anyplace else.
Yep. So,
Bonds goes to bonds. Landscape goes to landscape, safety and security.
Then we should not have it, it should not be over.
If you still can be over, would you have your life?
well,
Not an overspend.
that's like I said, I think this requires further discussion. And maybe it's just offline, but we need to understand how these expenses hit the budget.
It's Daniel Potter. I agree with you, Dean, because of the fact that we are now looking at multiple roadway repairs in the near future. So you want to really control the spending on this one and making sure that it is at least the books are balancing.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Now, and most important, obviously, is the bottom line number. You know, that we stay within that budget. The individual line items might vary, some positive, some negative, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is what really matters. But it's important that we understand and we have input rather than being told that this is where the expense goes. You know, so that internal transfer, I'll speak with Laura about not doing that. Okay, everyone? All right, next item is discussion of GSCDD Pelican Preserve action item status of repairs. Daniel, this is something I had asked you about, and you provided a report for us.
Second, and I'll pull it up.
You might have just clicked on the wrong one.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
All right.
this one. So
So I know it's a little hard to see in here, but as we're standing up the new email addresses for each one of the subcommittees, that also comes with an Outlook calendar for each subcommittee as well, to be able to have each one of you have a link in there to an item, this Excel sheet. I've created a tracking mechanism across all of the subcommittees that will feed into PPAC or the Board of Supervisors. And it was just like agenda management for the Board of Supervisors. Now I'm bringing it back down to the lowest level so that we understand when there's new topics brought to the table, when it's a recurring topic, when something's been tabled, and we just have a mechanism to keep us on track. So it doesn't get talked about today, and then 3 months later, we're like, hey, what happened to? And but there's just a mechanism to see if things have been completed, and it's just a basic project management tool. So I'll be working with the chair or whoever the chair decides to manage this from the committee side of the house in partnership with myself and Laura, because Laura will always have PPAC. I don't want to take that from her. She
I don't blame you.
um, to be able to keep track of all of the subcommittees across the board, because there are several items that will touch multiple committees, you know, from safety, security to PPAC, all the way to the board of supervisors, and see where it is in that pipeline, that workflow. It's very general. It's, you know, what's the topic title? What is the category, whether it's new, it's something that's in progress or underway. Everything in this is a PDF, but inside the Excel sheet, it is an Excel sheet that I have basically turned into I buried some macros in there and did some programming in the background. Everything's a drop menu other than notes and dates, and everything formulates to say, we think that this item should take us to be able to get through a pipeline 60 days. Are we really on track with keeping our items in order? And I plan on doing this much like the staff does for GSCDD. We have an Outlook calendar for that meeting. So there's an event that is scheduled on your calendar for your Outlook for your new emails. Inside that will be a link that will have this, and we'll be able to update it in real time. So it's got tabs for every committee across the board, but yours is only focused here on the safety and security. I'm trying to make it a little bit more uniform across the board and to organize this better.
So we can drill down
Yes,
into different line items to see what's in there, right?
correct.
Okay.
So it's in the progress. You'll see that in this right now, I've jammed some stuff in there going back, just looking at some agenda items. Some of my notes from the previous meetings that we've had, it'll continue to grow and it'll continue to get, you know, more robust, but it's filterable. You can look at new items. We can look at old tabled items, and it's just something for us all to have situational awareness. The part that I don't know if Laura really spoke about with the new emails wasn't so much to make it within a legal limit of public record, but also for continuity, right? So when Dean vacates the seat and somebody else gets elected into that role, that email box is still there with all the emails and continuity across the board. So that's why we're driving towards that system. And then also ease of use for communication, making it where we can communicate with you as effectively as possible, and you know where things are at, and it's not get mixed in with your own personal emails and things like that. But this is one of the first, you know, tracking metrics that I'm trying, or KPIs that I'm trying to put in there, just so we could see what our progress looks like across the board when items come up, and then to be able to track them across time. If there's any questions.
Question down, so like on street sign repairs, will
Mhm.
we be able to drill down and see all the individual items that need to be repaired?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, an Excel sheet, and I tend to be a PowerPoint and Excel sheet wizard sometimes. So I can make this thing look however you want it to look. If I once upon a time was SharePoint administrator, so if you wanted to see it, we're driving away from our stacks and our servers in the back, and we're trying, as we build the admin building, to get more to a cloud-based where everybody can collaborate and work on these items across the board in a more timely, efficient way than 15 emails back and forth with people, so that we just keep track of stuff.
Okay.
And I can modify this as you deem necessary or you would like to see. The agenda management, Chelsea and the leadership side of the house has been real receptive to me with fresh eyes walking in and saying, hey, why aren't we doing it this way? Because it would make more sense. And we've been modifying the agenda management for the board of supervisors little by little, so there's no culture shock, but at the same time, to improve the process. I'm trying.
Okay, so I think this will be great. I think it'll be really helpful. I was concerned specifically about street signs that were damaged from the hurricane and the status of where things are. I know that there was concern with performance by lichens. How are they doing as far as, you know, delivering on replacing the signs? Is it something you can speak to briefly, or?
I will. And I think I'll echo Chelsea's sentiments that I have seen in the background. We're not absolutely pleased with the performance of Lycans across the board. That has been brought and elevated to the Lycans president and their owner across many different emails. Basically, there's 3 major projects going on underneath the Lycans umbrella, and the quality of performance across the board has been hit or miss. It is definitely left hand and right hand are not talking and collaborating from the guys on the ground installing versus the project managers across the board that should be ensuring that the projects are being done timely and collecting that data. So it's a lot of times I get a email to Omar. Hey, Omar, I'd like to get a situational update on what has been installed, what is currently out of the ground, and what's sitting in my yard. And I don't get a very warm and fuzzy feeling about he understands what's actually on the ground. He has to take time. He's a week turnaround normally for an email to come back if I get an email to say, these are the items that have been knocked off the checklist or the punch list. So it's not been a great relationship for myself with Lycans in the 5 months that I've been on board with the district. It is moving along, but it is a painful move along, and I have to consistently stay on top and pull teeth to get it done. Same with Chelsea. She's constantly in contact with their owner, and I'm working with their PM on ground as best as I can to track those projects. As we get into, the roundabout at Carina, I'm waiting on materials, and I'm trying to get 2 different contractors to say, yes, I have materials on hand and I can go execute this before I schedule it. I've got one that's 100% ready to go, and then I'm working with Lycans right now. And it's turning into a manpower struggle of other projects to be able to get out there and do it. So if that sets the tone for how I view it, it is not the best of relationships right now between the district and that contractor.
But they are a monopoly.
But yes, they very much are one of very few options that you have.
So that roundabout project, just as background, it's probably the first week of February 5th, I think. The pavement marking contractor said he was able to get started, and the sign contractor would follow so that they weren't tripping over each other, but not following much later.
So bringing it to current date, McShay has ordered the materials to be able to do the striping, the thermoplastics to be able to put down on the ground, because it's not just a regular paint. They have it. They're good to go. Now, the contract actually stipulates that there's temporary signs that should be put up by Lycans during the process of them installing their permanent signs. And that's where I'm having hiccups right now with their contractor about making sure that they have the signs out there temporarily until they're, I personally don't care how long it takes them to get them in, obviously within reason, but having signs there for safety concerns and the temporary capacity.
This is Danny. Is there an option to use someone else just for the temporary signs? Do we need to be with Lycans and just reduce his contract by that much? To get the process going.
And there's many ways to slice the pie, but it's already built and baked into that contract. And I mean, Dean, you can attest to it. Temporary signs are already built into that contract.
Okay. The paving, item number 2, Diamante Mill and Resurface. This morning, gentleman spoke, public comment, put in some comments. I don't know whether you see it.
I've got it sitting here in front of me.
So he's got a number of areas of gutter that apparently, in his opinion, need to be.
Is he still here?
He's not.
He
here.
left.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, too bad, because I would tell him I have walked every inch of that road, and I do not see a gutter or valley gutter repair that is validating going and doing any repairs. It's minor superficial cracks and things along those lines that are not substantial enough to go back through and try to do a lot of it. For Diamante, that assessment was already done and I personally did it. So I can go back and I'll look at it, and I'll go back and look at the pictures because Laura said he's got pictures for it. And I will go assess those areas again.
Okay.
His name is Brad Straw.
I will. I've got his email and everything right here.
So
That being said, that was it. That has now been through the entire pipeline. It has been approved through PPAC and all the way through the Board of Supervisors. So that is a project we are now moving forward with. PO has been issued. to Boness so that they can go forward and start planning their MOT and how they're going to take care of that road.
So that is, according to here, you're guesstimating mid-February for a start date. No,
That is a
that's a
guesstimate.
date.
That's a
Yeah.
guesstimate
Yeah.
at the moment.
Okay.
I'm waiting on them to come back and tell
Okay.
me what their availability is
Okay.
and material.
Okay.
My big thing is tell me you've got material in hand. Give me a tentative start date, show me your MOT plan.
Yeah.
And then if we need to work through any eaches based on whatever the road looks like or
Yeah.
how
So it could slide.
it could slide.
It could slide. Okay.
But it has been through the approval process and now I'm pushing forward to get it executed.
So-
With that one, right behind it is Breno Mill and
Right.
Resurface, which
Yeah.
on a sidebar, you'd ask me to go take a look at what that would look like to follow up behind this.
That was gonna be my next question.
It is. So I'm currently chasing proposals there. I've got two proposals back, roughly ranging between those two proposals, $55,000 to 59 and some change. Waiting for the last one before I bring it back to you. I'm gonna do a minimum of 3 based on the CCNA requirements and the dollar sign before I bring those proposals to the table. It's gonna fall in line with what we've been seeing. Our consultants and contractors are coming in right on top of each other with the numbers. So we get some movement to who we can pick and select. And it's not always the same low bidder. Well, I'm seeing a variance there, but they're all in the ballpark
Okay.
for mill and resurface.
Okay.
We do need to take a look at some of the valley gutters through Breno.
Yeah.
That one I have not done the assessment on
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
To maybe broaden the scope to take care of.
Okay.
I guess listening and some of this, I wonder if as some of these bubble up to the top like Bruno, I wonder if would make sense, Daniel, when you go out there to get together with the HOA president and kind of walk through or coordinate before we get too far down the process. So that they have, you might be able to resolve some of these things earlier.
So my
than
suggestion
Right
to,
before the contract, so.
my suggestion to this committee would be to, let's take the Tetra Tech report. Let's do a common sense check of that and start prioritizing. We need to make a priority list of what roads we would like to
Yeah.
go after and do. And we need to talk about delineating that in time and space because I can't do all of them at once. And because I've only got so much capacity, like, the district's got 28 people deep and trying to do the management and then day-to-day operations. So I would say, especially with the dollar signs that are associated with it compared to your budget, this is an unbudgeted. The money exists, but it was not dedicated specifically to a road, right? And we need to take a look at how much money exists and how fast you want me to spend that money. And how desperately roads need to be repaired.
Well, we know that the cul-de-sac at Breno is falling apart and
Yes.
there's other damage conditions along it, but not as bad as the cul-de-sac yet. But my understanding from last month was there's like $285,000 line item for roadway.
Yes,
I'll call it a capital project.
it is. It is absolutely in my
Okay.
mind. Not because it's seal coating, I wouldn't really
Yeah.
take into account
Right.
for capital, but as you go in and you rip it back up, you're putting the
Yeah.
lifespan back on it.
Yeah.
You're resetting a 20-year clock.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
25-year clock. So this is more of a capital investment when it comes
Right.
into these roads.
Right, so.
But I could eat up $280,000 really quick.
Right,
So
right.
let's
And I'm
prioritize.
sure we don't want to do that because of capacity limitations, but
You still
we
have
have the-
sidewalks to consider as well in that
Yeah.
budget.
we have a condition along Breno in particular that's in pretty rough shape. We have a contractor, Boness, who's going to be out in the neighborhood, Diamante, in the near future. And it's conceivable that Boness might be one of your three bidders that could be competing on this.
They are competing
Breno.
for it, but I don't know if they're the lowest bidder yet.
Okay.
So
Right, we don't know that, but.
there's the potential to mitigate some costs
Yeah.
for MOT and the mobilization.
And mobilization. So if we were able to schedule one to follow the other, do Diamante and then the next one,
I have zero problems
and
with daisy chaining them together. I just don't want them overlapping.
right. And we don't want to jump ahead and do the fourth and the fifth and the sixth.
Yeah. So, but my ask of the committee is to pick somebody to look and do that walkthrough with me, and then let's talk to HOA presidents and start a prioritization list to say, okay, this is what we've reported through our engineering report from Tetra Tech. Here's what we've done on ground, and to bring it back in front of the committee periodically to say, this is where we stand on the status, because I'm basically standing up a program for you for road repairs and replacement to go through and systematically take on roads that either wear and tear in high traffic areas, or it's just at the end of life cycle is really those critical factors. But to say what those are, reality check versus what the report says, and then say, okay, what's my next top priorities? So if I can get my next 5, we can guesstimate with the budget where we would like to do them in the upcoming fiscal years
Okay, good.
across the board, and
Yeah.
keep it level where I'm not eating up the entire budget or my entire staff's capacity.
Right.
To operate.
Great.
This is Danny. That group has already been assigned, and that's Ed Chakowski and myself. We did the walkthrough with the Diamante before, after you did it.
I'm talking more than just the amount. I'm talking about
Well,
that
no,
whole,
this-
all the roads across. the board.
Agreed, yes, that was the agreement, the approval that Ed
Okay.
and myself will be assisting you or.
As
working with you.
for background, the reason why I went after Diamante to begin with, first of all, it started off with the Tetra Tech report, and that was one of the top 3. And I went, I assessed all of the top 3 that they said were the worst.
Yeah.
I never went past that, right? I went through the top 3, and Diamante really was the one that needed to be repaired. The other 2, no superficial cracking, no structural base failures, nothing along that line. So I just scrubbed them to the side of the list, and then I focused on it. Prior to me bringing a proposal to you, seal coating was a very hot topic of discussion with this committee. And I really wanted to show you what the difference was for bang for buck. And it was very minimal in the difference between seal coating and a temporary 2 to 3 year makes it look nice versus a little bit more money, not a whole lot. And I wanted to really show you that. And now you have a new asset for 20 years that you can stand on for a while.
Yeah.
And then I was surprised. I really was when I first brought that initial proposal to you, how fast that you all tried to action it. And then I had to pump my brakes for everybody so that I could stay within the CCNA guidelines and go and get multiple proposals, and then brought back actually a better proposal for you than what I had initially had. So that's what's really sparked all this. And now I'm standing up a program.
Okay.
Without officially saying that I'm standing up a program to go through and systematically take that priority list and get after it.
Good. Okay. All right. Oh, great. I think it's good progress, honestly. And I think I feel positive that we're going to be able to move forward, at least with a second roadway, hopefully in the near future. That doesn't overburden staff.
I'm hoping to get it in this fiscal year.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get both of these roads done in this fiscal year.
Good.
It's my aspiration.
That's good. Thank you. Okay. This is great. A lot of these items we've spoken about, Azura and Palazzo street sign repairs, the Florida Power and Light conversions we're going to get to momentarily. The P-PERT agreement, do you know whether that has come back from the community association's lawyers?
I do not believe so.
The P-PERT agreement, Faye had contacted and said that she had the association had some comments on the draft agreement, and they wanted to also send it to their lawyer for review. That was about a month and a half ago. Okay. The question was,
Yeah, this is Danny. I'm the chair of that committee. I haven't gotten any, and I think I responded. I have not heard back from any party as far as the final document. Yeah, I mean, it was a simple sign off.
right. Yeah, I had posed a couple of questions at the time, but it was back in the community association's court at that time. And I know that Chelsea was trying to follow up on it earlier this week or late last week.
So another wonderful part about this category type column that's right here.
Yeah.
Is I've amended it since actually putting this in the agenda item.
Yeah.
And it says approved by, and it's got a drop down menu for either the subcommittee, PPAC,
Okay.
Board of Supervisors, so that we can track where things are really at across timeline.
Good.
So if it's something that's been approved by you guys, it'll just say you, and I'll know it's at the next stage waiting to be approved. If it's something that has been approved by PPAC, you'll know because it'll say PPAC and that, and now it's pending for the Board of Supervisors. So that this issue that we're bringing up right now, I'm hoping to resolve with this tracking mechanism.
Great, great. Thank you.
But I do not know the answer, and I'll have to chase that down for you for the
Great.
paper agreement.
Great.
I was under the assumption that it had been approved, but I may be wrong.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on that? Ted, do you have any questions?
Yep.
No, good. Okay, Jennifer, you're okay?
I'm fine.
Good.
Yeah, this is great.
All right, let's move on to.
This is gonna go up also. Again, this is gonna go right with the financials every day at the agenda items. So every month when you get your financial report, this report's gonna be sitting up at the top as well. So
Good, great.
it's gonna become a part of the agenda item.
Okay. So let's go to item 8A, continued discussion of Florida Power and Light street lighting proposal. And I think last month, we had received some information from FP&L, some updated options that he presented, and then Georgia was able to attach those documents to the agenda for today's discussion. I know I've asked some questions about financial justifications. I'm struggling a little bit to rationalize spending $400,000, $500,000 upfront for replacement of the street lighting system without having some financial support. And that's why I've asked what in our line item, what is the $82,000 number for streetlights, maintenance and repair? Okay, didn't realize that. It's not power. Power is someplace else. But if $82,000 for a budget is a good starting point, that probably reflects a little bit of history. Annually, we're spending around $80,000+, right?
No. Yes, no.
Okay.
Just because it was rolled forward from years previous
Okay.
does not mean that it is an accurate
No, I understand,
assessment.
right?
I would tell you right now that I'm eating through that pretty quickly with coming out of the holidays.
Yeah.
The amount of street light repairs that I've done in just the past 2 months has probably eaten half of that.
Okay.
So from lack of probably O&M, because it wasn't a priority until it was a priority, right? That nobody cares about it until it's down.
Yeah.
You're
Lots of people care about it
and
now.
now it's a big thing because I'm going through and I'm systematically taking care of those items. They're getting a lot more O&M costs associated with it. I'd like to see after this year, I might have a better idea of what a true north really looks like for that number versus just something that was a legacy number pushed forward. But I want you to keep that in mind as you're. I don't want you to think. Don't want to fall in the lane of fallacy where like what was is actual.
Well, my issue here without having any of that history,
Mhm.
you know, if we look at that budgeted number and say, okay, let's assume for the moment that it's reasonable. And it's $82,000. And let's say the cost of removing, installing the new lights, if we were to accept the proposal, is about $400,000,
Mhm.
right? So if we go replace the new lights, then we're not going to be spending the $80,000, but so we could use that $80,000 for as a portion
Well, they
of
would pay
that.
for themselves
annual
after
cost,
5 years,
right?
essentially.
Right, or
Then you
we
would get roughly 15 to 20
Yeah.
years of lifespan out of them before you started having O&M heavy
trying
issues again.
to rationalize in my mind that the number proposed by Florida Power and Light can make sense
Mhm.
because nobody has shown me any other numbers at the moment. So 400,000 there and rental costs, paying for the power and the rental of about $7,000 a month. All right, that's 84,000. You know, so you kind of put things together and say, well, having a new system might make a lot of sense, especially if the lights stay on.
Yes, they stay on and your O&M costs go away essentially because
Exactly,
FPL is now the
exactly.
maintainer of
Exactly.
those assets.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Jennifer, you were going to try, do you have some numbers there? Oh. Okay, so this might be of interest also.
Jen, we're gonna have to ask you to sit closer from now on. You're making too many trips.
Thanks. Oh, my God. No, I just need to see the bottom line.
So what you have there, this is Jen with KW, is Castle Group did theirs quarterly. KW, I just pulled the financials for the year end. So you have everything there for shared everything, I mean, streetlights, your road repairs. So that's the entire O and M agreement financials quarterly, and then for KW is the annual. So there is a hurricane line in there too, so that would have been split probably with some landscaping as well as street light repairs.
Is that
So
what
that-
was budgeted versus actual? That's the actual.
That's well, no, it's everything, actual and budgeted, so then the variance.
Okay, well, so, but if we look at this, I'm just looking, oh, there's West Coastal. So you have to kind of really study it to
Yeah,
see
you're
how
gonna have
much
to look at.
was spent. Okay, so it's starting to form the basis of some numbers. So we ought to talk about the benefit of the proposal. And Ed, you've got some experience in doing this kind of work. Maybe you can shed some light.
Cost savings or not cost savings?
Well, or about the existing conditions. You're spending a lot of time on existing conditions as are you, Daniel.
Yeah.
You've been getting very bad. There's one, service entrance that's totally rusted out and, a lot of other stuff. So there's gonna have to be some fairly substantial expenditures going forward if you're gonna try to maintain it, long term. And Cypress Grove, I've been up there the last 3 nights resetting the breakers. So I think we got a bad breaker there or something that's going on there, but just seeing more and more issues every time there's some sort of lightning storm or.
Is it the 10 lights that are on Cypress and Pelican? The 10 lights that are on Cypress and Pelican? Okay,
Yeah,
I've got that added to the list.
the bus stand there, all that off one breaker that just, it holds for a while, but sometimes in the middle of the night it trips and goes off. So. Fortunately, that one's right down the street from my house, so it's not too bad to hop in a golf cart, go down there.
And it's easily accessed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think one thing to, there's definitely different vintages of the lights, so. Florida Power Line was proposing doing everything. There may be some sense to the parts of it, before other parts. I think one of the big issues is just the type of lights to consider. You maintain decorative lights like we've got, or those more standard lighting. Save money, but yet you lose the decorative.
Aesthetics.
Look and feel, I guess, whatever the proper term is. Tree lines included, but you can definitely do more straightforward lighting than tree line and less decorative and reduce some of the costs. So there's a lot of design considerations. I think that's why Dean and I talked about, having a group put together and actually be able to sit and meet, talk and provide input into this to Florida Power Line before they would actually start doing the detailed design. Because it could get very costly from their point of, okay, they put together a design and we review it and say, we want you to change this and change that. So if we could, it's just like to make sure there's proper lighting or at certain areas where there might be pedestrian crossings, golf cart crossings, some of those key intersections that they can't tell from the aerial photographs, where there might need to be more lighting. I think a group would have impact. Couple issues of it will impact landscaping. Anytime they plow in, or they call it the fast trench, they plow in, you're probably gonna run into irrigation lines and things like that, so there is gonna be some repairs probably needed to that you have to be aware of, and other electrical that runs in the boulevards. And tree trimming will probably have to occur to get the proper lighting, because they will relocate the lights, so there'll be an impact to landscaping budgets going forward. But I mean, there's just a lot to this, a lot of details to think about and ramifications, rather than just, oh, we're gonna have them come in and do all the lights, then after the fact, try to sort out all the problems.
There's definitely second and
Personally, one of my bigger concerns that I've seen from when I did the streetlight inventory is I reported a whole bunch of streetlights, and this was back in September, I think, when we did it right after the sign inventory. I reported a lot of streetlight outs, and they haven't been repaired by Forticom. So just that performance of the lighting, I guess there's their maintenance schedule and maintenance is kind of a big issue. In my mind, that, you know, how can we go? And the boulevard lighting is gonna be more important than, you know, individual lights to make them work. To make that important, so, and maintain, so.
Gateway has already adopted a program with FPL. That, yeah,
portions,
for
yes.
portions of
Uh,
Gateway or
I think our
Or-
final design.
portions of a proposal.
They're in the final design.
Okay,
And I know that we have FPL lights over here as well, but.
Yeah.
You know, to tell you the truth, I'm not 100% sure on all of that. I have not touched a lot of the light side on this side since being here, so. We are in the process of trying to mimic exactly what Pelican's doing with the GIS and making sure that we got all the assets captured across the board, and lights being one of them.
so it was my impression from the last meeting that we were individually, separately asked to go out and take a look at lighting in the Gateway area to see what's going on, what's being done.
Mhm.
I don't know, I saw new lights. I did this, I went out last week. I saw new lights around the roundabouts.
The roundabout, Bentley is putting those in.
And, but are those FPL or?
But
And there's also new lights, I think, near the roundabout at the high school. Are those FPL? I don't know.
Dean, this is Bob. Anything you're seeing right now has nothing to do with the big picture.
Okay,
The way this started, the way we got involved was because FPL made a presentation to the board that's supposed to be going to save us money. We have committed some money for them to do further studies. We don't yet have a package deal, but while the process was starting, I asked them to include Pelican. That's how we got involved.
Okay.
But the proof is in the pudding. I have yet to see in Gateway that it's going to save us money. We just hear words. So this discussion today is like, you know, at the ninth inning, and we're still at the first inning. They have yet to come forward with a comprehensive package. You know, they get a big picture. Yeah, if you do this, you're going to save money. And it's a lot more capital investment to start with, but then supposedly you got the savings. And the objective that I personally felt for this was you don't have repairs. You don't call West Coast. You don't call Bentley. You know, it's all FPL. So there was certainly an advantage to that, but I've yet to find out if it saves us money.
Okay.
If it doesn't save us money in Gateway, I don't think the board's going to go with it. So therefore, we, Pelican, shouldn't spend a nickel until we know what they're going to do. Great to have the discussions, but you know, the jury is way out. We don't really know yet. No.
and it was worth it. It was worth it. Well, again, yeah, I'd like to see some numbers. They don't have to be hard numbers in my mind, but they need to be reasonable numbers that suggest that the costs that are being incurred today, whether it's hurricane related or if it's just age related, conditions of the infrastructure, the lighting infrastructure in Pelican Preserve, in my mind, need to be reduced substantially. And this might be a way to do that. I can't imagine that all of the work that's been done, we could say, okay, well, now we're good for another 20 years. because West Coast or Bentley's been out there replacing wiring.
This is Daniel. Those are all point repairs, not refurbishment.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
They are not the one and the same.
Yeah,
A patch repair is just to get the light back on. A point repair is just to get it moving and fixing a breaker,
Yeah.
and it's mismatched parts, it's mismatched retroactive fitting of things
yeah.
versus 100% refurb and bringing something in that's a factory setting.
Yeah.
So keep in mind.
Well, like I said, I think it's worth exploring, not spending, but exploring. And then, so the next item on the agenda was to create a street lighting project team. So these two things are tied together, basically. And what I had suggested there was to have one person from the subcommittee, one person from PPAC, one person from KW, and what was the last one? And somebody from the district.
Me.
You.
Let's
Well,
not-
I haven't
let's not
named
mince
it.
words.
I
Me.
haven't, I've got names in my mind. I haven't suggested. Right. So my thought is that we'd have this working group, a project team that we can talk, we can discuss, we can throw ideas out. And it's going to take some time before we get to the point where we can make a recommendation to this subcommittee, the full subcommittee, and eventually the PPAC and up the line. So that's what I was proposing, and I was thinking that I would be the person from the subcommittee that would be on this project team, but anybody could do it. I just don't want, you've got a lot going on, Daniel. And I know, Jennifer, you've offered to help out on different things too, so, and Ted, so I just put my name forward if that's okay with others, I'd just soon do it, but if others.
It's your board. All due respect. All year, you're way.
Yeah, well, we have technology that could, even telephones, if we can talk. Right. Right, so, but yes, you're right, maybe it starts out with me and it transitions to somebody else, but the point being that we can't have two people from the committee
Yeah.
talking, that's in the same working group, so. That's what I think we ought to do to kind of move the ball forward a bit.
It makes a lot of sense.
Daniel, am I hearing a motion? I haven't heard one. Heard suggestion. I haven't heard a motion.
I make a motion.
You can.
This is Danny Clemens. I make a motion to put a formulation of a street light project team consisting of a representative from the subcommittee, PPAC, the CDD, and KW, with Gene Gross being part of the subcommittee representing.
A work group, not a club people.
No, yeah.
It's a work group.
This is Jennifer. I second that.
Any discussions? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion passes. Good.
Now, the next step with that is to coordinate with those next levels to get that approval with them so that they can provide somebody to you.
Yeah.
I can work with you, Dean, to coordinate that.
Okay. So that would be great.
Yeah, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Jen, are you stepping forward? Or?
You hold on to this or you need to back?
No,
I just forwarded it and, digital. I got it today.
Okay, so you want it back though?
No.
Okay, we're good. We can keep it. Good. Okay, fine. Thank you. All right. Is there anything else people have?
Power washes.
Oh, it is. So the Wiseco tractor with power for the swirly pressure washer is here. We've finally assembled it. It took a minute to assemble it. We had a tutorial on Tuesday morning by the vendor for the tractor itself. So very soon I'm going to be bringing that over to Pelican so that we can start pressure washing. We tested it yesterday and it's pretty awesome. One of the things I got to work through is how we're going to get water for the system so that we can not rack up bills or be taking water from places we shouldn't be.
Tap the bonds.
Disregard that. But getting out there, I'm still waiting for some personnel. I'm in the final stages of hiring the last person for maintenance, so that I can have somebody out there every day of the week doing maintenance jobs, having a pressure washing schedule and getting their schedule set up to say what are their priorities, and then any one-offs that we add to their priorities. Then I got to check on it, but I believe I have a Kubota that's ordered for them as well. I'm gonna have to find a place to house both of them. And we were working with an agreement between us and the golf course for some space with them. Haven't finalized it yet, but again, all things in the progress of moving forward to get somebody out there and to have somebody be able to address a lot of the safety issues that may arise. Also, Gateway purchased, because I asked for an early Christmas present from Chelsea. She allowed me to do it, was to go out and buy an actual sidewalk grinder.
Oh, good.
So I went out and was able to find it. I used it one day and it paid for itself. Based off of past proposals for people to come in and do a simple lip grind to make it a safety issue no more. So I know that I CC'd you on an email. We got a request in. Hey, there's a safety issue on the sidewalk, and it was replaced literally or fixed the same day. Now that I have that tool on hand. So we should be able to start mitigating a lot of the safety issues with sidewalks without big impacts to the piggy bank, right, to the budget. So those two items are now at our disposal to be able to work with and do a lot more with.
Good. And that maintenance person you're looking to hire will be trained to use that equipment as well?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Great.
Now, will there be a charge offset to Pelican for the use for each project? How are you gonna work that in?
So the pressure washer is your Pelicans.
Okay.
You paid for it 100%, all out of your budget. The grinder, the operational upkeep of that thing is so minimal that it's not a thing that I'm going to charge across the board. It's just going to be one of the things that we cross level and use, just like every other wrench that we've got or tool in the tool bag. I will always maintain at a minimum of an 8-hour day. There are jobs that take 2 people to do. I'm looking at how I flex that maintenance person out there, and if I have to send people out there, how I still get an 8-hour day for Pelican every single day by at least 1 maintenance personnel, or if I need to have 2 or 3 based on the size or scope of a project to take care of, that we're still getting the right hours out there on the ground. So it's baked into the budget already for 1, but really I'm breaking it out to the 8 hours every single day, 5 days a week.
Great. And
That's what you're getting right now. You're getting one of my 3 maintenance personnel are floating out there once a week to be able to touch base on the priority list that, collectively we've set as the priority. And then for O&M, my public works maintenance supervisor, Mark Rothenberger, has been going out and assessing and taking care of small projects on the side, outside of just the maintenance personnel. So we're getting traction. We're starting to see some things really come to fruition. So when I came on board, back in September, late September, I'm getting my feet under me, and then I was able to hire 2 supervisors underneath my organizational chart and really delve out what used to be a stick figure organizational chart. And now I have a maintenance section, and then I have a Parks and Rec section that are actually true to that. And then now I've gotten the maintenance positions filled. We're able to start taking some things on that we've been wanting to take on internally for a while, and ease some of the backlog that is out there in Pelican.
Good progress. This person will also be able to deal with our speed monitoring sign as far as installation.
So the sign that I'm going forward with for out there, I've already gotten 3 signs, and then I'm trying to repurpose some of the poles that we've got here in the yard to put those signs up at the guardhouse.
No, what,
Are you sorry?
We're talking about 2
yeah,
different things.
Sorry.
you were talking different things. Yeah, I'm talking about, well, go ahead. Yeah.
No, this is for the signs that we own,
Mhm.
and we're getting new batteries for it that collect speed information at various parts within the community.
speed monitoring.
Yes,
not-
speed.
not-
I don't know if you want a general labor or maintenance worker touching anything above that level. So I don't know, what maintenance do you, what do you envision
Oh,
the
it's
maintenance
not
be for
maintenance,
it?
It's not
it's to
maintenance.
move it.
Mounting.
So we would give them a schedule and say on such and such a day, please move it from this location to that location. It was something that Weiser was doing for us until they realized it wasn't in their contract. And
Give me a meeting to chew on that one. I'm gonna have to think about it for a second on how I want to respond, but ultimately we could probably make it work. It's,
yeah, we were told it was going to be part of their responsibilities, so.
should be able to make it work.
Okay.
Now,
Maybe
now
make
you're gonna
sure
have to give me, you're gonna have to give me some leeway where it's, you know, you say you want it on this day, give me
Well,
24
yeah.
hours within a
Yeah,
window and
that's
not to be
fine.
like,
Yeah,
I'm,
I'll work with you on
yeah.
that because I usually put that schedule together and yeah, we can be flexible.
okay.
Yeah, it's been over a year since we've been able to do any of the speed monitoring
Yeah.
for one reason or another. But we're getting close where we'd like to, dust off the equipment and power it
So
up.
moving it around, what does it take to move it?
Just dismantle it with a couple of bolts,
Yeah, it's
pick it up and move it. It's light.
pretty simple.
Okay.
It's got a
Pretty simple.
panel, a bracket to put it on. And I have one that I created with a solar panel to avoid some of the. I can.
Oh, good,
Pattern.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just something we've got. It didn't exist before, so we're gonna have to do
Yeah.
the growing pains and figure out
Yeah.
what that person's scope
Okay.
and responsibilities
All
are.
right.
No technology at all
No,
necessary.
no,
It's
it's just
basically
labor.
hands-on. Put it there, screw it down. That's it.
Okay.
Hit the button.
Yeah, and recharge the battery cable.
So what
As long
you
as we get that
started-
person trained, I just don't, the army man in me knows that once you give something to somebody else that's at a lower end level that doesn't care about that piece of equipment, it's gonna end up broken. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Good point.
it will be
Good point.
broken immediately.
That's why it's like it is now.
So I just want to make sure that they're trained properly. And then once that's good across the board, get everybody cross-trained in my maintenance team so that we can
Okay.
do the scheduling.
The other matter I think that you were talking about was the height monitoring,
Yes. So
At
a
the
quick
gatehouse
update on that.
please.
We were able to put in just the actual signs themselves, that already existed or I wanted to put in. Signs are on order. I have some posts here in the yard that I'm going to repurpose to be able to put them in the median. I'm looking at 3 major signs and then I'm ordering a 4th actual veil that will sit out before that one. I have not been able to order yet. It's a little bit higher sticker price for that one, but essentially it's a do not exceed height on chains, and it creates a veil that if it is hit, it's an early notification. It'll sit further out away from the building and hopefully we can, mitigate people from smacking the building every time we turn around. Or at least smack that first before. I'd rather replace a chain and a sign versus the big muscle movements that we've had there. So there'd be in total 4 signs there and 1 mitigation device, 3 signs that are really just posted to tell people very bright, meeting the MUCD sign standards. And then a veil that we're getting on order right now. I'm trying to get it in to install.
Good, thank you.
This is Danny Clemens. On that veil, what's your plans on where it's to be placed?
I want it at the beginning of the median for entry into the community. So what I've seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you want to do 2 for the exit, because on the exit, nobody ever really comes through the exit. They always use the outside lane. So whether you want to spend the money there or not, I could easily mimic it, but I'm going to try to get it 20 to 25 feet outside of the actual lip of the entryway. So there is a good lead off time. So if they hit it, they'll feel it, they'll be able to stop before they go any further.
The problem I see with that is the last vehicle that struck the overhead, it was a
a trailer.
trailer attached to the, right. The operator would not hear that because it's so much further back from his or her vehicle.
Mhm.
So, and if it went across the entire roadway, it would indicate all large trucks, which we don't want it to do. We only want it to handle the trucks,
The oversized trucks.
oversized truck. So, I mean, I was looking at a laser type device that would set off an alarm to the gate or bell that they would, now they have to get up and respond to it. And probably the same distance, 25, 30 feet.
So
Is that fast enough?
now you're driving cost. That's the,
Okay.
and O and M, that I was looking at the simplest, cheapest
Oh, I
route.
got you, yeah.
But if the committee wants me to go after that, we can definitely chase more of a sophisticated device.
But if it
I think my concern is that whether or not the driver hears it, it still does not alert the staff. And that's my issue, that they are not, like I say, with that one vehicle, the trailer, it would have struck it 20 feet back, 30 feet back. But if he doesn't hear it, and the guards definitely are not hearing it, it's,
Well, the guards aren't hearing it and they're not seeing it
Well, they're
because
not
their
paying
line of
attention.
sight, based on where they're sitting in that guard shack is minimal, and they're coming through so quickly.
If you did a laser, could you do that a lot further back? Even though it's crossing both lanes or both entry lanes, and then that would, then that could alert or, the guard or something, almost as they first pull into
Well,
at the
to the
beginning.
entrance.
Typical veils that I've researched, right? They do a height veil and so now you're creating electrical requirements as well. So, and other sign requirements. There will be more signs further into the inlet that flash. And now you got to get routed into your actual breakaway for your lift. So now you're synchronizing multiple mechanics out there, your driving price and stuff. And it is a good tool. I will say that anything that's got a laser on it, you will have issues with weather interfering with that laser and what that screen, they all have a veil screen that's a piece of glass, and you get one speck on it and that thing will go haywire nonstop. And it'll be a constant thing that has to be cleaned and maintained. Ask me how I know. I deal with the automated gates out on the access easement road, and God forbid a speck of dust gets on one of those things. I get 15 calls about how the gates are open and remaining open, or they're shut and I can't get them open for love of money.
Or there's a bug right on the.
Yeah, one bug crawled across the, bug life. So there's pros and cons.
Okay.
And whatever you suggest is what I'll go forward and do. I was looking at the quickest way to do something that was already prefabbed, that didn't require electronics and second and third order effects to be routed in place. So
So what signs did you actually decide on?
for
The gate entrance?
What height or what size?
No, what signs?
Signs.
I'd have to go back and look at the verbiage on it, but it mimicked what was there. And then to say, hey, really focusing on over height standardization and making sure that drivers are seeing it clearly. My goal is, you used to just have the overhead right there in the archway, right? It was painted the same color as the archway. It didn't stand out. You're getting brighter signs that stand out away from that silhouette. One's going to go on the pillar. One's going to go on the overhead archway to the actual entryway. Then we're going to back out into the medians and put in signs so that there's earlier warnings prior. So it's not the first time you're seeing it as you're pulling underneath the awning there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
this sounds visually very unappealing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't
thinking.
imagine. I mean, it seems to me there are a lot of communities that have porticos that don't have all of this stuff leading up to it, and I'm just really dubious. And I know it's happened, 3 times in the past, but
Yeah.
hey, I'd take my chances rather than having it look like some kind of sign jungle out there.
I can agree with you to a point. When somebody poses you the question, does aesthetics matter more than safety? And that's what's going to be brought to you eventually. So, and just because, does the aesthetics of the building mean more to you than what the actual safety precaution is trying to bring
Is it
up?
really safety or just damage?
I mean, God forbid one of those guards got struck by debris or accidentally got smacked. Now you're looking at
Yeah.
more, there's more of a safety.
Yeah,
One of the
that to me
drivers
is-
got hurt.
That to me is,
I understand, but
and to who, whenever these accidents occur, who's liable? Who pays for the repair?
it's going to be the driver.
The
Well,
driver.
the company of the driver, typically their insurance.
It's a it's
So-
a CDL requirement that the driver of a vehicle is required to know the height.
Mhm.
That's it. If they hit anything that exceeds that height that's listed on the dashboard,
Mhm.
100% responsible.
I just,
Yes.
Like the idea.
Our control, access control people, they have dual responsibility for failure to maintain it, but that's on an administrative side. That's on our end. But the damage, that's why that company offered right away. As you.
Yeah, they didn't want
right
their,
away.
they didn't want their insurance to get
They
hit
handled
right
it
off the
right
bat.
away.
Yeah,
And as you can see, it's actually done.
Yeah.
Within what, a week and a half, 2 weeks,
it's a
totally
week.
done, paint and everything, so. They know they were wrong, they know they're responsible, so under CDL, federal guidelines.
I always err on the side of caution with the safety side. When I have a question in my mind, it's always going to lean towards safety. And I get both arguments, I really do, but when I get put on, I always ask myself, if I had to go stand in front of a jury and I had to answer the question, did I put safety or aesthetics first? I'm going to say, yeah, I always put safety first. And I would hope that each of you would feel the same way. So that's just my 2 cents on it though.
I just don't think it would go over well with the community to see all of that.
And I understand that that's going to come because they didn't even like when I put Winterfest signs out there. So I didn't understand that it's going to be a voiced opinion. I understand that. But again, when I can argue anything with the safety is my background, is my, simply safety is going to win every time. Yeah,
Well, let's take a look at what you're,
I'll get those signs put into a PDF for you so you can
Thank you.
see what that looks like from an oversight
yeah,
of where I'm going to place them and what they
Thanks.
actually look like.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
2 other items are just to report both the design of the speed hump on Veneto and the bike lane designations are proceeding and going to permitting and probably in the next week or 2. All right, so it's things are moving along there.
Pelican Nation.
The bike lanes along.
Yeah, the FTE items.
Yeah. Yeah, two FTE items. And I may have heard from I don't know, a neighbor, a resident or something. Is the gatehouse being repainted,
Yes.
different colors,
Whatever the approved scheme was from PPAC is
Yes,
the
sir.
color scheme that I've
Different
gone through.
different colors?
From Elias Brothers
And,
and monuments as well. There's some monuments that were in that scope.
okay, all right. And then that's near term also?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Yeah, another quick liability question. Several months ago, there was a golf cart fire on Pelican Boulevard. It really blackened the roadway and actually chewed up some of it, and also the grass along the side of it. I run by it all the time. Who's responsible for that, or is anything being done with that?
So ultimately the cost will go back to the insurance of that individual. I'm
I mean, is
working to,
anybody,
so the roadway's been assessed and there's no structural damage to it. It just blackened it up.
Oh, no, it's not just black and there's a big piece that's missing.
Okay. Well, then that's changed since I did my assessment with it.
I just wondered what,
The-
it's a responsibility of the golf cart owner?
Yes,
Their
sure,
insurance?
yeah.
Okay, that's, I just wondered.
Yeah,
about
because that I hate to say it, but that is a private matter to be handled. It's not a GSCDD item to go fix. I am working with people to try to get things fixed, but that's a private citizen accident and incident and their insurance company working to remedy it.
Yeah.
There was also
to fix
damage.
your asset. though.
Yeah.
Sure, yes.
Yeah, trust me, we're pushing to get that done. Same with, there's a house that's immediately behind that had bush damage and roof damage. So they're already working with that.
But it's already being addressed.
Yeah, it's already being addressed.
Okay.
I might get to the point where I get tired of the sod and I just go out there and take care of some of the sod, but. And a hedge. Well, a hedge ain't mine. That's definitely private property.
This is Jennifer. I'm making a motion that we adjourn.
This is Danny Clemens, I second.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.